Hi, so this video is quite long as it is and I don't want to waste any of your time unnecessarily, so here's what you need to know up front. 1. My name's Adam and I make a YouTube devlog series about how I'm currently making a game. 2. That game is a 2D point and click adventure game and I plan on using the Adventure Creator plugin for Unity to make it. 3. This is me. I don't know how to code and I don't know how to use Adventure Creator and I'm basically an idiot. 4. This is Jeremy. He's very much not an idiot. Jeremy has almost finished both a sci-fi point and click adventure game called Dexter Stardust and a platformer sequel to that game, both made in Unity. 5. Jeremy has very kindly offered to teach me, an idiot remember, how to use the Adventure Creator plugin for Unity. And 6. There is a Unity for Idiots video on this channel that acts as a sort of prelude to this one, and that goes through the basics of the engine as a whole, but this one is all about Adventure Creator and how to go about making a point and click adventure game using that tool. We've done this tutorial as a screen share video call so that Jeremy could teach me as I went along and so that you can follow along too. We go through just about everything you'll need to get set up and running from a standing start, and there are timestamps for each section in the description below should you want to jump around. Right, that's it. Go grab yourself a coffee or a cup of tea, get comfy and get ready to follow along with us. Here we go.
This is how I view Adventure Creator. If you work for a AAA studio and you are an artist or a gameplay engineer, whatever, I don't know, the people that like literally working on gameplay and level design, they're not coding. Basically what what software engineers do is they create tools so that the artists, the people who are working on the gameplay, can fine tune it, because they are not software engineers by trade. Many of them have knowledge of software engineering. It's just not the thing that's not their job. Right? That's not their role. So they need to be able to quickly iterate upon things. So the way I see Adventure Creator is that someone made those tools for us. It's like we have a software engineer working at a studio. We're like a 2-person studio and we have someone who's like, I made all these tools for you. You can literally do anything you want with it. And you don't even have to go into your code. And you're like, great. I can work on my game. Right.
Yeah.
Cool. So it is like that. It's very modular. Just like yesterday, we opened some scripts. We will not open any script today. And people call Adventure Creators, they call it visual scripting. It's not really. Visual scripting is literally like, you know how you're like public void, and then you like made a command and then you put it in print. Like visual scripting is like doing that, but visually. This is not like that. This is like animate character, make object invisible, move to point. It's like so much easier. Okay. Okay. Let's make this. Let's open. Also, find the folder on your computer that has your artwork.
Okay. There we go.
All right. Very good. So let's go back to Unity.
Yep. So
let's see if you can remember this from yesterday. Find the package manager.
Don't judge me on this, please.
No.
Was it somewhere up here?
It is.
Unity. No.
I'll give you a hint. It is a window.
Thank you. Package manager. I've fallen at the first hurdle. Right.
All right. Very good. Okay, so we already have these here. You want to click where it says packages and project. You want Unity. You want my assets.
My assets. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I remember.
Adventure Creator. Download, and then you will install. After it downloads, you will import it, and you'll just import everything.
I was going to ask, by the way, when saving this, so this whole game as a project is now in that folder, that sort of library folder that I
Yes,
picked
sir.
out. If I move that, would everything just
No,
break?
no. I've even renamed it. Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
Yep.
Cool.
I've even renamed it.
Cool.
Okay,
Is
so
that
it's in the game. You can remove the package manager.
yep.
Yep. Okay, so where is it? Well, you may notice at the top of the screen there is a new word, Adventure Creator. Click on that.
There it is.
Go to Editors
Yeah.
and first thing you want to do is the game editor. Boom. This
Okay.
is the bulk of Adventure Creator. I would put it over on the right next to your inspector. All right. Excellent. So do you see, go back to Adventure Creator tab at the top. Oh, wait, actually,
Yeah.
you know what? Let's just see what's in Adventure Creator before we actually create a new managers. So here we have, it says scene, settings, actions, variables, inventory, speech, cursor, and menu. Believe it or not, this is basically all you need to make this game. So menus are everything that overlays on top of your game. Speech is a menu. The inventory button will be a menu. Inventory itself is a menu. Okay. The pause, all of those things are menus. Okay.
Right.
And these warning signs, you don't have to worry about them. Remember, yellow is fine. Red is bad.
Yeah.
Okay. And then cursor, you can see the cursor is actually, he has a cursor manager that he developed. So this is where if you want to, put in your own custom cursor, it's also, if you go down to the bottom, it's also where you will change your interaction icons if you choose to use them. A lot of people nowadays are doing one click or one tap, and then it only has one thing to do. But if you want several to fan out like Monkey Island 3 or something like that, you would have to manage that here. The speech, go to the speech folder or speech manager. So here you can see, you can do a lot of different things, like, subtle subtitle scroll audio, when it's like, and it types out, that you can actually put in an audio clip for that. You have subtitles. This is where it's all managed. So go down to the very bottom, speech audio. So I think you see where it says gather text. So when you're finished with your game, you do not do that until you are at the bit. You're like, okay, I'm happy with all of the speech in the game, or the lines of dialogue. I'm not going to edit them. They're done. Now you press gather text. Okay. And then it will create, and you can like export a giant spreadsheet, and then you can play around with that for a week and fiddle around until you can organize it to a method in which you can actually record it.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, you can also do different languages here. And also, if you wanted to translate into Arabic or Hebrew, you can go right to left, which is nice. Inventory.
Yep.
So this is actually where you'll be managing all of your inventory items. Look, it just says create new item. You create new item. And you can actually click on prop sword. So you see where it says carry on start?
Where, sorry?
Down, carry on start. If you go to,
carry on
right
start,
there. So you can see name, you can label it, but carry on start, that's actually super important for bug fixing. So you're like, oh, I don't want to have to like play an hour of the game to get to the point where I finally get that item so that I can test this one. No, you can just give your player the item, play the scene, and then just see if the thing that you just built works. Okay.
Cool. Yeah.
And then variables.
Yeah.
Variables are extremely important. Why don't you click create new variable? So you can see that there are, click on the type. There's Boolean, integer, string, float, pop-up, vector, 3, game object. So the main ones that I would use if I were you are probably Boolean and integer. We've talked about this a lot in the Discord about how we've even set up like complex, systems where you are putting in like a digit code using just Boolean variables, which are true and false variables, or integers, which are whole numbers. Okay. So for example, if you want to say, why would you use a variable? Well, let's say that you are, you want to tell the player, maybe the player had to speak with someone the first time, and then the next time they come back, something different happens. You don't want it to play that first interaction. So you create a variable. You could name it has spoken with this NPC. It's automatically set to false. And then in the game, using an action, you set it to true. And then you tell it, you give it a check. Has the player talked to this NPC? True or false? If it's false, then it'll play that action list. If it's true, it'll play the other action list, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Okay. And then actions. Let's go to actions at the top.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to be completely honest. Like, I don't really use this one a lot. Yeah, I don't really action categories. Like, this is actually the action lists. This manages the action lists, but I don't touch this manager. You can touch this manager. Okay. You can set like defaults and things like that, but I actually, it's like when you create a new action is what I mean. Like, you create a new action, what's the default action? So if you're creating a lot of dialogue, you don't want to like create a new action and like every time you create a new action, it shows you player. You're like, oh no, I want to create a new action every time it shows dialogue because that's what I'm working on most. Well, you can change those preferences here. And then settings. Okay, this is extremely important. This is where you will dictate how many players there can be in the game. What is the player? If player switching, you can see player switching, interface settings. So this is also like an input manager. So not an input manager, but telling the game how it should receive input. If you click movement method, point and click.
Yeah.
Yep. You can see direct, first person, that's for 3D, drag, none, straight to cursor. And then if you look at input method, keyboard or controller, touch screen. So I would, if I were you, probably make, I would make the game with mouse and keyboard, but keep in mind the touch screen element, because you will probably have to rework your UI. And then scene, and then click on scene at the top.
Yeah.
This is the only manager that will change based on what scene is open at the moment. Okay. Right now, there's nothing there, but you will see that once we create new managers, they are there. Now, do you see where it says asset file, scene manager, asset file?
There, yeah.
Click on the little circles. Okay. So you may notice that it's selected by default, the demo scene manager. This will not disappear when you've created your game. And every time you update Adventure Creator, it will go back and re-put in the demo asset files right there in those managers. But no worries. You just click that little button and then you select the manager that we're about to create. Okay. It'll be right below where it says demo scene manager. I freaked out the first time that happened. I was like, what is going on? And every single one has one. So if you look at scene, you look at settings, you look at actions, they all have their own. Okay. They all have their own. So you update AC and then you go and you're like, and you select your managers. Okay. So now let's create some new managers, which is basically starting your game. Let's go to Adventure Creator. And let's do getting started, I think it is. New game wizard. Next. Yep, enter the name of your game.
No, spell it right would be helpful. There we go. Right.
Incident is incidentally a difficult word to spell.
I mean, you know, me on typing whilst I'm sort of under pressure is not good. Anyway,
I hate typing on camera. Okay. What kind of perspective will you have? Yes, 2D. You're not going to position your characters in 3D space. No. How do you want to interact with hotspots? You can change this whenever you want. Do you think it should be like choose interaction then hotspot, or choose hotspot then interaction? That's more common. You like,
yeah, that one. I mean, because the interaction then hotspot is like the verb menu,
yep.
Right? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so hotspot then interaction, I guess makes sense.
Or you can write your a custom script. You want to do that?
Probably not today.
Okay. Okay. Next. Okay, this is an important one. You can change this later, but do you remember how we created a UI system yesterday when we did the 2D block game?
Yeah.
We like created a button, And that was all in you. And we also created prefabs for the blocks. So the difference between default AC is that you will not be using those Unity, the Unity UI. You will be using AC's built-in UI, which uses, I talked to Chris about this once because I was having some issues with it because I use it in my game. And he said it might be a good idea to just use Unity UI because it's possible that Unity deprecates some of the code that's used in the default adventure creator. It hasn't happened yet, but it's possible. Okay. Okay. But the default AC UI is super easy to use. That's the thing. It's like so straightforward, but using the Unity UI is a little bit more complex, but it offers you more robust. You're not going to be doing any coding. I'm just saying like, it's just might be like a little bit more finicky.
Okay.
What do you think you want to do?
Can it be changed at a later date? Is that what
it can.
So I think let's go default AC for now.
All right. Then, very good. Okay, very good. Finish.
You had me at the word easy there. Anything easy, I'll
yes,
pick that.
Organized scene. You absolutely want that. Okay, very good. Look at all of the things that happened. Okay, you've completed. You can close this. This is your first scene. Okay, awesome. It has nothing in it. So yeah. Let's look at the left. You have main camera, cameras, cutscenes, dialogue options, interactions, lights, logic, movables, navigation, NPCs, sounds, set geometry, UI, and game engine. Okay, very good. Excellent. So let's go to the AC game editor. On the right. No, on the right.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, we're not going to go up there again. Let's click on scene.
Okay. Scene. Yeah.
Okay, so you see that this has changed a lot. So we need to slot a lot of different things here. We need to slot a default nav mesh, a player start, a default camera, a sorting map, a tint map. You don't have to use tint maps. You don't have to, but you want to use a sound. Actually, why don't you click create next to default sound? Whoop, and you see it already made it and it slotted it. So the way AC works is no sound can play in the scene until there's a default sound. I find it to be a little strange, but whatever. And you're not going to be putting any sound in that. You're just adding the audio source. That's it. It just sits there. Yep. Yeah. And you're like, that's weird. And you're like, yep. And why don't you create a default camera?
Create. Yeah.
Very good. So we now have a nav cam and you can call that whatever you want. Okay. Let's do also, we have a default player start already. Why don't you create a default nav mesh?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. We will adjust that. Right now, it's just a perfect polygon in the middle of the screen, but we're going to adjust it so that it's like the walkable area. Why don't you create a default sorting map? That's the sorting map does two things. It tells you what layer the player should be on, and it also tells you how big the player should be. Okay. So we'll see all those later, but we've created all these things. And then we also see that there's action lists, cut scenes on start, on load, on variable change. The ones that you will be using most are on start and on load. Okay. You don't always have to use something on variable change because there might not be a variable to change in the scene. Why don't you click on start create and on load create? Okay. We will be working on those later. And then go to the bottoms, go down. So you can see here that if you want to start a new conversation, this is why Adventure Creator is so great. Okay. You want to start a new conversation, you click conversation, and then you can start that conversation. You want to create a new hotspot, click on the hotspot. You want a new cutscene, click on the cutscene. You want a new trigger, click on trigger. Okay. So the movables, that's more for 3D. Okay. Navigation you will be using, logic and navigation you'll be using, but the movables I've kind of used those more for 3D, or I've seen them used more for 3D. Excellent, very good. So let us now build your scene. So this is the sample scene. So Let's take this is our sample scene, but let's call it whatever. What's the name of the parking garage? I think that you told me that was the name of the.
Just basement, I'll call it. I think.
Okay, well, let's go down to scenes where it says assets, and then
Yeah.
why don't we rename it?
Okay, so just basement is enough. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Enter.
Yeah.
Reload.
Reload.
So let's drag in your sprites folders, the Big Ol' Boss incident. You can create I would create like a player, a characters folder, something like that.
In here.
Yep.
Okay. So folder, characters.
And then also create another
drag.
folder. Yeah, you put it in there. It'll take a while.
Cool.
So this should take an hour or two. We should, and then go to your scenes folder, backdrops.
Yeah.
I call it scene artwork is what I call it.
Okay.
So
I will do exactly that.
yeah. So if that's all PNGs, after this is done, just drag that in. We'll just do it at the same time.
Okay, cool. Let me wait.
But I'm going to show you how to compress your images after you've imported all this. So like create another folder. Yep. Very good.
Okay, and then.
Oh no, that's in your characters folder.
Oh, it is. Sorry, let me delete that.
No, you could drag it. You could drag it.
Oh,
drag it to Big Ol' Boss incident.
Just there.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. Just works like regular folders.
Is that sort of color coding system like empty? When it's empty.
Empty.
Yeah. Right. Okay. There are no stupid questions.
There are absolutely not. There you go. Okay, why don't you click on one of them? Reception, maybe? Or yeah, okay, very good. So do you see the little slider bar at the very bottom? There's like a little dot with a line. Drag that back and forth. Drag it all the way to the left.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Do it how you like. I like it there. I don't know why anyone would want it the other way.
No, yeah.
But that's just me. Everyone's different. So why don't you highlight all of them? You can do Command A or Control All. And then go to Inspector. Okay, so some of them are not multiples of 4.
Are they not?
It's okay. It happens to me all the time. Click on the.
Oh,
click on each
do you know
one.
what? Sorry. Yeah, it's just I didn't think about that. It's these 3 that I just sort of randomly exported.
Okay, well then click on the other ones, the main background and the foreground.
Yeah.
And foreground. Very good. And then do you see on the right where it says default? And then there's like a computer, iOS, Android. That is where you're going to do your compression settings. Why don't you use crunch compression? And you can set it to 50. You can keep it at 50. You could set it to 30. Actually, when you place it in the scene and after you've used crunch compression or you've changed it, you can actually see if you zoom in small, tiny distortions in the pixels. Okay. So it is compressing the image. It is losing its quality. But if you don't do this, your game will be absolutely massive.
Okay.
Okay.
So apply that.
Yep. And it just takes a moment. And then do you see where it says iOS?
Yeah.
Override for iOS. And then do format. And then do RGBA compressed ASTC 5x5 block. I believe that's the one. Apply. I believe that's the one that I do. So whenever you import images, do this. It will save you so much time. Like, because then you won't have to go back later and be like, oh, I forgot to compress all my images. And then you spend like a super boring 3 days, the entire day, going through every single image in the game, compressing your image. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, it's okay. The foreground cars, the trunk, you can worry about that later. Then go to your characters folder and let's do your player. It will take forever.
Yeah.
Double click.
Double click. Come on. Oh, there we go. Default.
It doesn't matter which one. Crunch compression. Apply. So this should take 3 or 4 hours. let's first put your scene sprites in there so you have something to work with. So do you see where it says set geometry? That's where I would put it in your hierarchy.
So set geometry there.
You don't have to. You can put it anywhere, but I would put it there. So drag
Okay,
in basement background and forward. Yeah, drag in one at a time.
Okay.
Let's just do that. Set geometry. Yep. Very good. Boink. Okay, so let's put the game on the game window near the inspector, and then kind of make the scene in the game window the same size.
Sorry, so put the
drag it over to the right. Yep. And then adjust that space in between there.
Yeah.
Yep. Pull it over to the same side. Okay. And then make the free aspect where it says free aspect in game.
Yeah.
16:9. Very good. Okay. So we could see that we definitely need to zoom out on our camera. Let's go to the game camera.
Game camera.
Very good. And then you can actually, why don't you go over to the scene view and kind of just zoom out with your cursor a little bit so you can see the whole image. Okay.
Yeah.
And then go and then expand game cameras on the left, and we're going to select the actual camera.
Oh,
nope.
Sorry. No, I've done bad.
No, it's okay. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. It's finicky at first. You got to get used to it. Okay. And then do the size. Actually, you need to set the Z position to -10.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. And then the size, let's change the size so that it fits your scene.
Where is size? Sorry.
Size. Go down.
Oh yeah, size. Yeah.
And you can actually drag it. If you go to the very left of the number, yeah, right there. You could just drag it like that. So let's drag it until it goes all the way to the end without showing any of the background. Very good. Excellent. And then let's you see where it says size 10.65. Select that, copy it.
Yeah.
And then go to your main camera on the left. Up.
Oh, main camera. So yeah.
And then paste in size. Boom.
Okay.
Very good. Okay, excellent. And then click game.
Game. Yeah.
Now we can see the whole scene, right?
Awesome.
Okay, very good. Now let's put the foreground over in the same place.
No, inset geometry. There
yeah.
We go.
Okay, and then go to the inspector.
Yeah.
And then you see the sorting order and layer.
Sorting order and layer. Oh yes.
And then why don't you change it to like 20? Point. So now it's above it. Okay. So now what we need to do, we need to create a player. Okay. So go into your hierarchy.
Yeah.
And then create an object, the plus at the top. Okay. And then change it to you could change it to player, or player is the player's name. Very good. And then you want to at the upper and you want to reset the transform to 0.
Transform to 0. Yeah. Reset.
And then we want to add component.
Add component.
And then type in player. Player. Awesome. This is so, and then scroll down. We need to add a few more things. Actually, let me just do something really quick here. I always want to make sure that I get everything. Okay. And then we also need to add component, add a circle collider 2D.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's fine the way it is. And then add a rigid body 2D. And you want to set that to is kinematic, not dynamic, where it says body type. There you go. Yeah. And then you want to make sure it's set. I think you want it to simulated, discrete. I just want to make sure that I have everything right. That's great. And you can kind of like reduce where it says info, kind of get like make it smaller. So that should be good. And then you want to add an audio source.
Okay.
Very good. And then go up a little bit. Do you see where it says speech audio source at the bottom of the page?
Speech audio source.
Yep. So drag the player into that spot. What you're doing is you're telling it to reference the audio source on that game object, which is the one we just added. Okay. Okay. Now, let's then go to the player in the hierarchy.
Yeah.
And then right click and then create child. Create empty. I think it's create a 2D object, maybe. No, you know what? Go up to the keep player selected, go up to the plus.
Yeah.
Create empty child. There you go.
Okay.
And you want to call that, you can call it player sprite. Very good. And then on that, you want to create a sprite renderer.
Sprite renderer. Yeah.
Yep. Very good. And then under that, you want to add an animator component, which will allow us to animate the sprite. And then under that, we need to add. So both of those things are Unity specific. We already added audio source, circle collider, rigid body 2D. That's all Unity. The only thing we've added so far that is AC specific is that player script that we added. Remember when we did a player script in the other one? It was like super minimal. It didn't really have anything. This one has like a ton of stuff, right?
Okay.
So we want to also add one thing to this, which is Unity specific, or which is AC specific, and that is a follow sorting map component.
Okay.
Very good. And then you can have it do offset original order. You could click on that.
And what does that mean?
Actually, maybe we don't need that, but we want it to follow the default sorting map. So do you remember how I explained the sorting map is what tells it how big or small it will get on the screen?
Yeah.
If you don't have this on it, it won't follow that. You're telling this specific sprite to follow that sorting map. You could add this to any sprite and it would follow the sorting map. Okay. So you're just telling it to eventually follow that sorting map. I don't think there's anything else. You could add another object to the player, a child object to the player. Nope, not there.
Oh, sorry,
in the hierarchy.
Yeah.
Add another child.
Yeah.
And make it called footstep sound. And then we want to just add an audio source. And then we're going to add one more thing. Add component.
Yeah.
And then do sound. That's it. That is also AC specific. This is not part of Unity. So you can see that with this player sound, this particular footstep is going to be SFX. You can actually change that. Why don't you click on that, see what pops out. There's music, other, and speech. So by default, when you slot the speech audio source, that audio source is going to be playing from the speech because you can actually control the volume of the speech. That's one of the things that AC does. It has basically 4 audio channels: SFX, other, speech, and music. Okay. You can click away. Very good. So let's go to the player. And you can see here that there's different animation engines and there's different animation styles. Why don't you click animation engine?
Where am I looking? Sorry.
At the top, Sprites Unity, where it says Sprites Unity.
Animation engine. Yeah. Okay.
So you see there's Sprites 2D toolkit. That is like like spine animation, you know, where like you just create like an arm and then you can you give it bones and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But we're going to be using Sprites Unity. Okay. And then also let's go to where it says standard 2D animations. What's the name of your character?
Tom.
Tom. Okay. So why don't we call it Tom Idle? Yeah. Tom Idle for idle name.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Tom. And then capitalize idle. This is case sensitive. Do Tom walk? You don't have to do Tom run. You can leave it blank for right now. Okay. You can always add that again. Tom talk. Okay.
Yeah.
So why is this so important? So Unity has this very complex way of doing animations typically. So if you have animations in Unity, you have like an animator controller and there's a default animation. And then you have to do like all these different things. Well, if the player is a player puts input right, then it plays this animation. But if it's grounded, then it plays this animation. But if it's in the air, then it plays this animation. And you have all these like lines going to all these different animations that you've created. You don't have to do any of that with Adventure Creator.
Okay,
you just create your animations, label them correctly, and Adventure Creator will play the correct animation at the right time. And will also then interrupt one animation to play another animation. That's something also that you would have to do yourself. And then you can also see list of expected animations. Why don't you click on that?
List of expected animations. Yeah.
That's good. So because you've put Tom idle, Tom walk, Tom talk, these are your expected animations right now. Okay. But let's see. Are you going to be facing 4 directions? How many directions is Tom going to be facing?
So eventually 8, but let's work with 4 because I've only drawn 4 so far. So
okay, yeah, that's okay. So is right different than left?
Yes.
Okay, well then we'll keep it 4. Okay. And then let's see. Head on separate layer. We didn't do that. Okay, so you might think, but where's like Tom pick up or Tom use or Tom this or that is not going to be handled right here in the player controller. You are actually going to use an action list to play those animations. You'll have it like interrupt the idle animation and he'll go and pick something up and go back. And then you'll like check it, return to idle. Okay. So you don't actually have to dictate any of those animations here. The walk speed, run speed in the movement settings, we're going to have to play around with that and get it just right. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things. You also want to click where it says ignore gravity physics settings. He has no gravity. I think that's the only one. Ignore gravity. Very good. Okay. And then do you see where it says SFX sound child? Slot in the footstep sound there. Yeah, very good. Footstep sound. You could click that.
Footstep sound.
Very good. Okay. Yeah, because that's the child of this, right? And then go back up again. Do you see where it says sprite child under standard 2D animations? We need to slot in the player sprite.
Okay. When you say the player sprite,
I mean the actual object, the game object.
Okay.
This is all game objects. So basically you're telling this script to use that object. Okay. So now comes the exciting part. Click on player sprite. And we are going to create some animations. So you notice that the animator has an animator controller. It needs a controller. You don't have to worry about avatar. You don't have to worry about apply root motion. You don't have to worry about update mode, calling mode. Just leave them the same. Okay. But that is where we put the animator controller. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to Tom in the Big Boss incident down in the project.
Yeah.
And we're going to actually, why don't you create a folder where you can put all those sprites in the folder, Tom sprites, and then we'll
within
that.
Okay. So Tom sprites.
Okay, and then just start from the top.
Oh man.
That's so select everything below it.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
And drag them in.
Okay.
And then select everything above it. And then drag them in. And then create another one that's called Tom Anims. That's what I call it, just to keep it short. Yeah, go to Tom Sprites. And remember, I want to open it. Okay, very good. Select all of his sprites. Remember, there's like one in the. Okay, yeah. Select all. So you could just like command.
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's not a folder in here anymore.
No. There was, but we got rid of it. And then do you see where it says pivot in the inspector?
Yeah.
Go select bottom. And that will put it right at the very bottom.
Okay.
And then click away somewhere in the project folder. Okay, let's go into the anims folder. And let's right click and create an animator controller. Create animator controller. Very good. And then why don't you call this player animator controller? It doesn't matter what it's called. That's just what we're going to call it. Okay. And then go to the player sprite in the hierarchy.
Player sprite.
Yep. And then slot the animator controller into the animator controller component slot.
Where am I looking? Controller there. Yep.
Yeah, very good.
Yeah,
Excellent.
cool.
Okay. Whenever you make an animation, this is what you have to do first. Okay. Now let's also take a Tom Sprite. Go to Tom Sprite.
Tom
And
Sprites,
then
yeah.
take his right or left idle animation, even facing down, whichever one you want.
Okay, let's do
Whichever one you want to be his like default.
Tom Idle right, I think is the one. So but just whilst I'm on it, what I did for this is I have him just standing, and then I have 6 different frames for idle, but they are like various different things. So it's like blink, and then he turns his head, and then
Oh, that's
but
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, just slot just a typical one into player sprite. This is just like a default one so that when you're looking at it, you can see it. Okay, slide it in there. Boop. Actually, let's go to where it says basement background, set geometry. One of the things that we forgot to do, set that to -10.
Order and layer.
Layer.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what it is, but see, now we can see the player. He's huge. That's fine. So go to the player sprite again.
Yep.
And then make sure in the project, the animations folder is selected.
Sorry,
in the project folder on the bottom.
Yeah. The animations folder.
Yes.
Yeah.
So typically when you start creating animations, the folder that's open, that's where they'll go. If you don't have that folder open, then you have to find it, which is a headache. So there's a couple of windows that we have missing here. We do not have our animation and animator window open. So let's go up to window at the top.
Window, yeah.
Yep. And then let's go down to animation. We want animation and animator. Those are the only ones we need. And then you could slot that somewhere. Sure. And then do the other one. Animator. Okay. And then you could slot that somewhere too.
We're actually...
The animator one is important, but we're not going to really be using it. This is where your animation, like, remember how I was talking about like branching trees? You're like, if this animation plays in this, and you can like drag lines from like different animations. We create animations, little tabs will pop up here, but we don't have to worry about that. But let's click on animation and make sure that player sprite is selected. It is. So let's click create. We're going to create our first animation. Yay. And let's call it, oh, it says it's going to documents iCloud. We do not want that. We want it to go into Tom's anims. Oh, it is. Okay, very good. That's good. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure.
iCloud.
So save it as Tom idle _ right. Yep. And then save. And remember, that's important. That is case sensitive. Okay. Yeah. Let's go up to Tom idle R again, right here, or Tom title. I don't know. I said again. Yeah. Click on that Tom idle R, right where you were in the animation.
Oh yeah. Here.
Okay. Oh, you're going to have to click on player sprite again in the hierarchy.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay. And then click on that, and then click create new clip. That's how you create new animations after you've created the initial animation. Let's do Tom idle _ left. And then keep doing that until you've created the other ones. Okay. And then let's do the walk ones. Okay. So by default, let's see, Tom, let's see, let's now go to our sprites folder on the bottom, Tom sprites. Okay, yeah. So let's slot this stuff in. You can just select them all and drag them into Tom talk, Tom, like everything that you want. So let's go to Tom idle first, down, and then let's find those.
So all 6 or just
yeah, you can do all 6.
And then drag them into here?
Yep.
Okay.
Very good. Excellent. So the sample samples, let's set that. So there's different ways about doing this. A lot of people just leave it at 60 and then they space their character out so that it looks like it's playing those animations at a different rate. I actually just changed the sample rate to like 12 or 10. So if you change it to like 12 and then you press play, Press play. You can see that he's doing his little thing. So press play again, stop it, and then zoom out in the animator. You can actually scroll back and zoom out. Why don't you space them out? You can drag a bunch of those keyframes.
Can you do like that? Okay.
Yeah, and then drag them somewhere. And then you can and then also you can expand the sprite to see which one it is. Where it says player sprite. You can click on the little arrow and you can kind of see the character there. And then this is where you can adjust where you want him. Okay. And yeah, I'm not 100% certain, but you could play around with that. And you press play and you can see kind of what he does, right? You can play, you can figure out that later. This is not permanent. You are not creating a permanent animation. This is something you could change at any point. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's slot in all your characters. Slot in all the sprites for all the different animations.
Okay.
Okay. Very good. So as of now, you have slotted all of your different animations. That's excellent. So we did it, but the player cannot be used by AC yet. So what we need to do is we need to make the player a prefab. So what we don't have yet is a resources folder. In the BiggleBoss incident, click on BiggleBoss incident, create a new folder and call it resources. Capital R. Okay, so the player needs to be put into the resources folder for Adventure Creator to access it. So drag your player main parent object and then drag it into resources. Boop, and now it's a player prefab. Now you can delete the player from the hierarchy because it's a prefab, right? We talked about that. Okay, so go to the inspector, or no, go to AC Game Engine.
AC Game
Engine editor. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, and then go to settings, and then where it says character settings, player prefab, slot your player prefab in. Boink. Now we have a player. Now we should be able to play the game, but we're not going to do that yet. Let's change the navigation, the nav mesh. So go into the scene view. Let's go into the hierarchy and where it says navigation. And then nav mesh. And then go to click on it and then go to the inspector. And then click edit collider. Oh, all right. And now drag the vertices to where you want them. And you can add vertices by clicking somewhere else. Okay, so why don't we do another thing? So we're done with the collider.
Yeah.
Let's go now to sorting maps in the hierarchy.
Sorting. Where is
navigation? Sorting maps.
Oh yeah.
All right, click it. Default sorting map. All right, so let's zoom in. Where is it in the? Oh, click on the cursor. Not the cursor. The four directions in the upper left corner where there's like a hand.
Oh yeah.
Click on that one. Okay, very good. Now we can see it. Okay, zoom in and then pull it down. Very good. And let's add an area. Click add area in the inspector.
Add area.
Very good. And then that area we want to pull down. Okay, so I think it's actually the top arrow you pull down. It's kind of counterintuitive.
Right.
Okay, and then pull it down to the very bottom. So we saw how big our character was right there. Very good. We saw how big our character was. He will probably he won't be 100% scale at any point in the scene. So why don't we make it 50% at the end scale?
End scale here, 50.
Yep. 50?
Yeah.
And then let's make the start scale 35. We'll see. Okay, very good. And so we can see that this changes not only his size, but it also changes the layer order, right? So right now he's on 0. But if now that he'll be on this, he'll be on one. So if you were to create different layers, different sorting layers, right? You could, if you create add another area, for example.
Add area, yeah.
Yep. And then you could see that in between the first point and the second point, now he'll be on layer 2. And it actually says in the scene view what layer is between those 2 points. Okay. You can see 1 and you can see 2. So if you're stacking things, you'll probably actually want to put like you said that there's going to be a car there. So you might want to put the car on layer 2, and then he goes from layer 1 to 3 so that the car's in between. Okay. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. But we can worry about that later. Why don't we delete that second vertices? We'll worry about that later. Okay. Very good. We should be all set. Wait, there's one last thing. Player starts in the hierarchy.
Yeah.
That's a marker. It's in the center of the screen. Let's drag it to the nav mesh somewhere.
Where is it? I can't.
It's right there. You're selecting it.
Is that it? Sorry.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And you can actually see what direction it's pointing in. So zoom in and you can see that it's up. That means that your character will be facing up. Okay. So why don't you change the rotation of it to 180? I think it's Z rotation, maybe.
Z rotation.
Yep. Now he'll be facing down okay.
Okay.
Very good. So I think we can press play and we can start the game. Moment of truth.
Good luck, everyone.
He is not respecting that sorting layer. And he's going super slow. Okay, so there's a problem. So the problem is that he's not respecting the sorting layer. Okay. He's huge and he's also going too slow. Those adjustments we can make. Why don't you press play again? He's also not respecting the nav mesh. There's something we forgot to add to the player. So let's open up our player prefab. Go to resources folder in the project folder.
Resources,
player double
inspector.
click. Yeah, double click on a prefab to edit it.
Yeah.
Okay. And then at the very bottom of the player, the main game object, add paths. It has no options. It's just a script.
Okay.
There we go.
Right. He's still quite big.
Yeah, well, we can change it. Why don't you click somewhere and see? He's just sliding around. So let's change it. You said your game's 4K?
Yeah, should be.
Well, all right, so let's press the play button at the top.
Yeah.
Let's go to the player prefab and adjust his movement speeds. Player prefab, double click, go down. We have walk speed scale. We have acceleration, deceleration, turn speed. Let's set it. Let me see what mine is. Mine is at 21, 40, 20, 10. So do 21, 40, 20, 10, and then 1, and then it's 100. I don't know why I did that. And that's it. And then I have turn before pathfinding. I have that checked.
Yeah.
Okay, let's press play again. See how that works. Yes, blah, blah, blah.
Oops. I was thinking about it. Okay, he's probably going a bit too fast, but
we can change that. But how's that feel?
I mean, yeah, he's walking around the place.
How's it feel controlling your character for the first time?
Bit surreal. Yeah, I can tell it's that kind of thing, isn't it? Where per scene, there's just lots and lots of like fine tuning of that sort of.
Well, why don't you take a minute to fine tune it? Yeah, that looks good.
That's more or less.
Yeah, that's more or less the size of an actual player. Wow, look at that. Oh, it looks so good.
That's cool.
That's really cool. Very cool. Okay, so let's create a hotspot and an action list. Okay. This is where Adventure Creator really has its bread and butter.
Okay.
Hotspots and action lists. The very first thing I want to do is a cutscene. Let's do a cutscene so that when the game starts, this is what it does. So first, let's go over to, let's go right here. Let's go all the way down. We're going to create a new camera.
Game camera 2D?
Yep. Yep. And it goes right over there. You can name it whatever you want. Why don't you name it camera start? Doesn't matter.
Oh.
Why did it do that?
All right.
Camera. Maybe double click it again. Rename.
There we go. Sorry. And what am I calling it? Camera start.
Camera start. Okay. Now, let's do this. Let's go to cutscenes. On the left.
On the left.
Hierarchy.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry.
And remember how we have an on start? Let's click on that and then click in the inspector. So this is an action list. Okay. So the very first action it puts is engine and it waits 0 seconds. What we want to do is we want to actually, this is what we're going to do. We are going to make it so that when you start the scene, it immediately switches to that a close-up camera. And he's just going to say, I'm in a parking garage. And then it will zoom out to the full camera. And then you can start walking around. Okay. So first thing we can know, cutscene properties at the top. It's in scene, meaning that it's located here in the scene hierarchy. If you click in scene and then click asset file, that would be creating an action list in your project folder. Why would you create an action list in your project folder? If you have actions that you want to be able to use across scenes, like he's like, I can't talk to that. I can't pick that up, but you want to use that same exact thing for every single scene, right? Well, you can have those assets in your project file, and it's just kind of like it's almost like a prefab. Okay. It's like drawing on that asset file. Okay. But let's do this is going to be an in-scene action list. Okay. And it says pause gameplay. So you cannot interact with the game. If you can also make an action list run while the game is playing. So let's go to the engine wait. And so the first action we're going to do is camera, change the action type to camera. And then we're going to change it to switch. And then we want to slot the camera in, the new camera start. You can click the little circle. It's easier to do it that way. Camera start. Very good. And then we want to do new action.
Yeah.
We want to do fade in, camera. Camera.
Sorry, and then fade in. Yeah.
And then fade. Fade in. We'll do 5 seconds. Perfect. It fades from black by default, but you can change that color in the actual camera itself. Let's do new action.
Yeah.
And then you do action type. Click on action type.
Yeah.
Dialogue. Press is player line. Nope. Keep that. Play speech. Player line. Yeah. Now let's give him a line.
I'm going to do exactly what you said for now.
Okay, very good. And then play in background means that it's playing while the next actions are running. Okay. Don't animate. Speaker is literally just, he doesn't animate when it says it. Now add a new action afterwards.
Yeah.
Go to engine, get an action type camera.
Yeah.
And then we want to do, let's do switch. And then put in the nav cam one. You hear my cat. And then
that's my cat then.
No, it's mine. And then transition time. Let's change it to 1. And then give it a movement method, make it smooth. And then do smooth transition out. Smooth transition out. It's a little toggle.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Okay.
And then wait till finish. Means it literally waits till it finishes and then you'll be able to play. So this is our first action list. So imagine trying to program all this. Because remember when we had like a button in Unity, when you can click it and it will go to the next scene and it can play a sound, it could play it. All of that occurs at the same time. But what action lists allow you to do, which is different than Unity events, you can have a delay in Unity events, but then you have to code that. But this is just, it's automatically doing one after the other. Okay. It's wonderful for point and click adventure games. So when you start the scene, it will do this. But let's first adjust where the camera start is.
Okay.
The camera start in the hierarchy on the left. Also set the Z position to -10.
E
No,
position.
yeah, the top one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. So where's that player's start marker? It's over on the left by the little pillar. So why don't you draw your camera over there, right about, not right there, because that's his feet, right where his face probably is. Yeah, right there. Perfect. Okay, press play. See what happens. I'm in a parking garage. There you go. Super fast. You can also change in the speech settings how fast dialogue plays, if you can click to advance it. But that's basically what we did. So like you can imagine all the things that you can do in an action list. Change the camera, have them do a dialogue. There's also, you can have them play, do an action. You can have them pick something up. So let's have them pick something up now. So let's drag that into the set geometry.
Set geometry. Yeah.
It automatically creates it as a sprite, right? You don't have to add the component, it's automatic. Let's give it, what order layer should it be in? Well, the player's he's on 1. So let's keep it at 0 right now. That means that if he walks in front of it, right, it'll be behind him. So why don't you drag the bread over to where the door is? I think that's where you wanted it, right? It's like a
doorstop. Yeah.
Doorstop. That's so funny. And then let's add a component, which is an AC component. Let's add remember visibility. Oh, very good. So you may notice a couple of things. It gave it a constant ID number, which is also AC specific. So it is assigning this a number so that when you tell it to be invisible, when you come back to the scene, it will remember the visibility. Okay. So let's do this. Now let's create a hotspot. Go to AC game editor. Hotspot. Very good. So it should be over on the left. Oh yeah. Click it again. Click it again. Yeah, very good. Now it's over there on the left. Let's call it bread or whatever. Okay. And then go to inspector. And then you can actually it says label, if not name, but that is the name. So you don't have to put it there. And again, you can have the interaction be in scene, or you can actually, have the asset files, like, you're creating action lists in your project folder. We'll just do this in scene. So let's do, okay, this is actually, let's add one other component to the bread sprite.
So
no,
here,
no, the actual bread, the physical bread, the actual bread sprite down there in the set geometry.
Oh, there, yeah.
Add highlight. And let's highlight it by 3. Transition time. Let's do the transition time 3. I guess that's fine. Oh, flash hold time. I don't know. Change it to 0.5 maybe. I don't know. Okay, that should be good. I think that basically means that when you're hovering over it, it highlights.
Okay.
It like brightens up. Okay, so go back to the hotspot, and you may notice that the hotspot bread.
Yeah.
And you may notice that it's just sitting in the middle of the screen. Why don't you place it over the bread sprite? Down. And you may know that just like the bread, it has a remember visibility sprite. We need to remember if this hotspot exists or doesn't. So add a component, remember hotspot.
Okay.
Very good. Excellent. So there you go. It just remembers it. Now let's do a use interaction. Use interaction is like look at, use, talk to, right? And inventory interactions are what happens when you drag another inventory item over it. Okay. So, and an unhandled inventory interaction is like, you can make it so that like the inventory interactions are specific to specific inventory items. Unhandled inventory interaction is like broad. It's for any, it's like if you don't have like specific interaction for a specific inventory item, then it'll just, he's like, that's where you would put like, I can't do that. That doesn't work. Something like that. Okay. Use interactions. Why don't you press the plus sign?
Yeah,
Hotspot.
sorry?
Use interactions.
Oh, use interactions there. Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, and it looks like we have a few options. We have use, talk to, and look at. Why don't you select? We need to create 3 because the way that the way that the UI is set up right now, we have 3 types of actions. So why don't you press plus again?
Yeah.
Yep, and again, and then select one should be used, one should be look at, one should be talk to. Very good, excellent. And let's create an interaction for each one.
Okay. So do I just create? Yeah.
Great. And then right next to the talk to, create.
Yeah, create.
And then
create.
Look at. Okay. So also it doesn't have a marker. Oh, I'm sorry. You see what it says object to highlight at the top? Click the little circle. You should be able to put the bread. Very good.
Bread. Okay.
And then walk to marker. So currently the bread does not have a marker. So the player wouldn't know to walk to it. Create that. And then click on that marker and it will appear in your click where it says marker, walk to marker, and then you'll see it on the left. Okay, click on that on the left and then why don't you drag it to right in front of the bread? And I think it's facing up by default. So that would be like right? So when he walks over to that marker, you can make it sure that he's facing that marker, meaning that he's matching the position of the marker, the rotation of the marker. So go again to the bread, let's go to our interactions now. On the left, it says interactions.
Interaction, yeah.
All right, bread use. Well, what should he do when he uses it? Basically uses pick up, right? So we'll have him walk over to it and we want the sprite to disappear. And we need the sprite to disappear, the hotspot to disappear, and we need the bread to be in our inventory. Okay, so why don't you click action type?
Oh yeah, action type.
That's changing the action type. So first we want hotspot.
Yeah.
And then not change interaction, click that. Enable or disable. And click disable. And then slot the hotspot, click on the circle. Bread, very good. Also, and then add component. Oh, not add component. I'm sorry. Add new action.
Yeah.
And then sprite. You want to do object.
Object.
And then go visibility all the way at the bottom.
Yeah.
And then slot in the actual bread sprite. Yeah, you might need to find it. No, not that one. Not that one. It has to be from the hierarchy because that was from the project folder. You can actually just go on the left, the hierarchy on the left and drag it in.
Yeah. Okay.
Go down and then drag in that. Yeah, very good. Okay. And we want to change the visible to invisible.
Yeah.
And then we want to go add new action. Inventory, action type inventory. Add or remove. And we don't have we need to add one. So let's go to the AC game editor.
Yeah.
Inventory at the top.
Inventory.
The very top.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah.
Add, create new item. And we'll call it bread. Inventory name. No, not there. That's
there. Sorry.
Right there. Okay. Bread. And then you could slot the game engine into the basement object bread into the main graphic. I'm sure you actually have like an inventory sprite for the bread.
Yeah,
that's different. But for just now, let's put in the basement game object bread.
So put it. Yeah.
Yep. Oh, into the main graphic.
Into main graphic. Yeah.
Very good. Excellent. Okay, so that's it. Very good. So that's the bread. So let's go back to the hotspot that we were working on.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Very good. And then add the bread. It already did it because there's only one, right? And you can add it to the front. So if you if you pick up a ton of inventory items, but you want one to be added to the front, you can click add to front. Okay. And then let's do add new action.
Add new action. Yeah.
Uh-huh. And let's do something. We'll have the player turn around, face the camera, and say, "I've got bread." So why don't you have the action type go? I think it's player character,
Character.
and then not animate, but face direction. Yeah, it says animate. Face direction.
Face direction.
Player.
Oh, fit player. Yeah.
Yep. Face direction to face down.
I'm gonna, because he doesn't have a down talk. So can
That's
I try
okay.
like right or left? Just because he's
Oh
got
yeah, left. Yeah,
yeah.
left or right. And then new action.
Yeah.
And then add a dialogue. And then make sure it says player line. Okay. Very good. Okay, very good. So let's go to the bread, go back to the hotspot bread again. So you see the use interactions. We have use, player action, where it says do nothing. Let's make it walk to the hotspot. Walk to marker. I'm sorry. Walk to marker. And then under that, face after moving. So that means it's walking to that marker that we placed directly below the bread, and then it's facing in that direction. So right now, if it's talked to, it won't do anything because there's also no actions there. But let's press play and see what this is like. Okay. Nice. Walking over there. I've got bread. And now where's that hotspot? It's gone. Right?
Awesome.
Very good. Now look at you. Go up to the top. I think the inventory is at the top. Bread. So now you have the bread in your inventory, right? Pretty cool, huh?
Yeah. I mean, that's
all right.
Starting to feel like a game.
Yeah. So repeat. Okay. So let's create another hotspot on the right door. So go back to AC Game Editor.
Yeah.
Go to scene. Go down. Create hotspot. New hotspot. Press it. And then if you can actually name, if you go new object name and then you click add new, it will give you the new name. But that's okay. We just change the name now. Okay. Hotspot. Let's do rename. What do you want? Door or whatever. I don't know. Exit. Yeah. Very good. I make sure that like my exits like exit right, exit left, exit up, exit down. You know what I mean? Like just so like I know.
There's only one that he'll actually use in this scene.
Oh, okay. Very good. Okay. So go to the inspector. Okay. And then let's do let's want to keep it in scene. Okay. Let's move the hotspot over. You have it. It's selected. Let's move it over and you can actually change the size. So do you see where it says box collider 2D? You can actually change that size. So why don't you change the size of it?
Okay.
Okay, very good. And all this, is iterative. Then there's no object to highlight right now. Let's create a marker.
Yeah.
And then click on marker. Click on the actual marker. Like right there. And then you can see it over there on the left.
Yeah, okay.
Right there. And let's drag that to right in front of the exit. And remember, you want the player to face it after getting there. So you probably want the player facing right. So change the Z rotation to, I think, 90. Nope, negative 90. And then zoom in out. Let's just make sure. Yep, yeah. Negative 90. Okay, very good. So go back to that hotspot, the exit hotspot. And then let's create we can use single interaction because it's just exit. Or do you want them to be able to look at and talk to and use it? Okay.
So it's just use though, right?
Yeah, just use. You can make it just use. Yeah. And then let's have the player act. You could do the player action too as player action. He walks to the hotspot. Player do nothing where it says do nothing.
Oh yeah.
Walk to marker.
What's marker? Sorry, yeah.
And then face after moving.
Okay.
And then click on the interaction, exit, use, and you'll see it in the hierarchy where you can find it.
Interaction.
Go up.
Exit, use, yeah.
Very good. And what do you want him to do when he gets to that? And also, do you see that the interactions actually have a transform? They're all in the middle of the screen, right? You see
Right,
the
okay.
arrows, right? It doesn't matter where
Yeah.
they are because they're not physical objects. They just
Okay, yeah, yeah.
exist, but they are seen objects, but it doesn't matter where they are. Okay. They're just action lists. They have no location really. So what do we want the player to do? We want the player to walk to the marker. So have character, walk to point, move to point. Oh, actually, he already does that. He already does that because when we click on it, he does walk to that point. So all we need to do is we need the camera to fade and then the scene to change. Camera, fade, fade out, not in.
Okay.
Keep it at 5, and then add new action, and then go scene, change, switch. And then let's change it to a name.
Name.
And the reason is because remember in the build settings, we have all of our different scenes in the build settings. You can change scene by number, but it's very possible that you switch around your scenes in the build settings at some point.
Yeah.
So if you're referencing your scenes by number, it's very probable that you'll mess everything up. So it's better to reference your scenes by name because that's consistent. That stays the same. Okay, well, we don't have a second scene yet, right? But we will have a second scene. Let's go down to our scenes in the project folder.
Scenes, yeah.
And then you could just duplicate. I would actually do Command D. And then click basement and then rename it. Yeah. Reception. Double click it. And then just delete all the images and stuff like that. So go to set geometry. This is kind of what I do. I know this seems like stupid, but just because I have everything set up the way I want, I just like go through and I'll just like delete things, delete that, and then go to your navigation, and then the markers. Delete your markers, and then go to logic. Delete your hotspots.
Okay, that's why I was having trouble finding them in the list. I was looking for like hotspots here, and there was
it seems like it should be right.
Yeah.
And then go to interactions.
And where is that interactions? Yeah, okay.
And then delete all those. And let's delete the cutscene, the first cutscene. Let's delete the unstart one, and we'll create a new one. And then go to cameras. Yeah. Let's also delete the camera game, expand that camera start. We don't need that. Okay. So let's go back to the AC game editor setting, scene, and then go up, select go up. And then where it says on start missing cutscene, create.
Yeah.
Very good. Now we have a new one. Very good. Now we have a brand new scene. We can always just adjust that polygon collider in the sorting map, but it's already created for us. So let's go to your set geometry and let's put in the sprites for reception. We'll just put in the background first.
Okay. Just straight in set geometry, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah.
And then we'll set that and then go to the inspector and set its sorting layer to -10, order and layer 10. Very good. So let's now let's save this. So if you haven't, and then go to File, Build Settings, and then add open scenes.
Add open scenes. So yeah.
Okay. Right. Press start. Very good. And then go back to, let's switch scenes. So let's go to the other scene, the basement scene.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Like this.
Basement.
Right. Okay.
All right. Let's press play and let's see if we can walk to the other scene now.
Hey.
Heyo. Scene transition. So obviously you can do the same thing and put a door on that side and get back. So there's a couple of things that we haven't gone over. Changing the adventure creator menus.
Yeah,
But
great.
if you were to go to press play and go to your the AC game editor window
Yeah.
and then click on menu,
Yeah.
and then also while with menu selected, drag the game window over to where the scene window is, just so you can reposition it temporarily. Okay, and select a menu. You can actually see them appear. They only appear in the game window. They don't appear in the scene window, but you can see what they look like. And if you scroll down with one selected, you can make changes to it. What happens when you click this button? It runs this action list, this type of thing. Okay. This is where you'll be editing and then you also click on, for example, inventory. So that's what you will be changing to change what your inventory looks like. Where it says subtitles.
Yeah.
This is where you'll be changing what the subtitles look like. They don't have to have a backdrop like that. They can just be right over the thing. And you can also scroll down, and you can see, I think you can change that, go down more. It changed the sub speaker label, or the sub line label.
Where am I looking?
Menu 9L, the very bottom.
Subline, yep.
Yep. Click on one, then go down, scroll down more, because it reveals itself. So you can see what the font it's using. It's using something called Chunk 5. And you can change all these different settings and things like this. Again, these are the AC menus. This is not using the Unity UI. Okay.
Yeah.
But this is also extremely, useful. You can make a whole game just like this. Minus, you can also scroll up a little bit, and you can see what happens when this menu appears. What happens when this menu appears? Well, you can have transition animation. You can have the transition type, which is fade. Do you see the transition type?
Fade. Here.
Yeah. And click on that. You can make it pan from, it comes right off. It comes from the left or the right of the screen, or it fades in, it pans, or it zooms into the like that's like what this particular menu, which is the subtitles, will do. All of the AC menus have these options. So you can make it so that when in my game, I made it so that when you click a button, the menu slides up from the bottom. So I have it make it say pan from bottom, and it just goes whoosh, and it comes up from the bottom. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
So I would actually, if I were to give you like homework or something you should do, flesh out these scenes, make them feel like how you want, place the rest of your objects, play around with the sorting maps. You're not going to break anything. And then also change the menus, make them remove things, add fonts, add sprites, if you don't want your inventory to appear at the top when you just hover over, but you want to actually like click on a button for it to appear, figure out how to do that. Okay. You'll have to run action lists. Like you'll have to create another menu that's a button, so that when you click on it, it opens the inventory. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
So just kind of think logically about okay, Adventure Creator uses action lists to do things. So if I need to do something, I need to use an action list.